Welcome back to another video. For those of y'all who are new here, welcome. I'm the Grumpy Dad, and I try to bring a YouTube page that's more for the, as I say, maybe the common folk or more real. And that's what people seem to like about this channel. I could see all the fancy graphics and editing and production values and stuff like that, but I try to keep it about as real as I can. And you are going to see a real video today. It's going to be kind of chopped up together here or there, but this is a comparison video that a lot of people requested once I got a WB200 from the WINGBITS team. Now that I got this in stock, I could actually do some testing with it on different antennas and things like that. So for about a week now, I have ran testing on different antennas that I could put on this device. And I'm going to show you all what some of those results are right now. So again, for those of y'all who are new here, welcome. Please, the usual YouTube spiel, please make sure you hit the like button. By hitting the like button, you're helping out not only me and the channel, of course, but you're also helping out all the projects that I have tagged in the description below. In this video particularly will be about the WINGBITS, the WB200, and a little bit discussion of the MGW310. So you liking this video helps push that out, which helps the project become more successful, which helps us all out. So you can do that first. I'd appreciate it, and thank you. So also, I have a Discord right here, and one thing that I tell people about my Discord is that it covers a lot of projects. All the announcements from those projects get shown in my Discord, and we're also there to help each other out. So in my description below will be a link to join that Discord. Hey, come join, and also subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of always new stuff that I'm putting out there for people, or when people want me to test things. I started this channel years ago as a kind of a how-to channel on how to set different things up for people who weren't that, IT specialist type of thing, especially dealing with like Debian and installing stuff with, client and different things like that. So with all that talking, let's go ahead and get started with this. So just a real quick, brief rundown of these two new devices. These are devices, some people with WINGBITS, this is about the WINGBITS project, which I'm gonna go ahead and guesstimate that majority of y'all who have come here already know about WINGBITS. Y'all familiar with it. Y'all belong to the Discord. Y'all keeping up with all the updates and different things like that. If not, go familiarize yourself with this website, wingbits.com. The biggest thing I try to tell everybody, if you are new to this project, this is your first station that you're putting on and you're trying to figure out, hey, I know this project's new, it's early, it's still in beta, should be going to TGE and mainnet very soon. No approximate date on that yet, but we know that they're soon. But so you want to get in this project. The first thing you need to do before you do anything else is you have to go look at the map. The thing about this project is it does not need stations, in every little inch of the earth. This project might not be for everybody. If you live in an area that is saturated with stations, this is not the project for you at this time. All these stations right here are just killing each other. Again, I'm not gonna make this a full detail because the video is gonna be long enough, but when you click on here on these blue hexes, you can see what some of these stations are making. That's what it's there for. It's transparency. You can see what some of these stations are making. And as you can see, some of these are splitting each other. Some of these might be poor setup, like this one's making 8. There's going to be some that might be in taller locations, higher locations that might be doing, even better. But again, these are the station owner hexes. These are hex 6 reses. These are hex 3 reses. So, this hex right here might give out 25 hexes a day. This one, they all give out about 25. I think it's 24, 25 hexes. Wings a day. So for each station that covers these airplanes to a point, the most airplanes in here, they're splitting 25 a day. So you might be getting like a 0.3 wings here, 0.3 wings here, 0.3 wings here. And the more stations that show up right here, you're splitting this even more. So it might not be, again, for you to cover, to add another station. Now, if you come on here and you live in an area that might be like this is all for you. This is wide open for you. So I like to make sure I go over that before and I have other videos that cover this, but you know, when you start looking around different areas and you see like these wide open areas like that, especially if you're somewhere close to the water, because this travels much further in water, you could really clean up with this project. Now, financial advice, nothing in my videos is ever financial advice. It all depends on your setup. With this setup, you have to be higher than the roof line of your house. The antenna has to be outside. You have to use a good antenna, good feed line, and have all those things kind of work out together. You go put this inside or your attic or anything like that, you're going to be one of the ones crying about the projects. So that's enough on that. I have plenty of videos that cover that, but I like to try to make sure I hit that on every video. Come check this map first, where you plan on putting a station. If you're going to put a station right in this open hex right here, this is not for you. It does, this station does not need more coverage. I mean, this area does not need more coverage. That's how this works out. So one time, a lot of us had with DIY devices. You could set up basically as many as you want, as long as you put it in different owner hexes. You can only have one per owner hex. But we had DIY devices like this. This is a little potato right here, or a sweet potato, one or the other. Or you could use Pi's, old Helium devices, even old computers. Now we have high-fix devices. They're not doing DIY devices any longer. They capped them at 2,000. So there's 2,000 DIY stations out there. And now there's over 2,000, if I'm not mistaken, deployed WINGBITS devices like this. But this is where you get them now. This is high-fix.ai. They have international shipping. There are other distributors out there. You can check the WINGBITS documents to see those. Helium deploys another one that I have a code for. But high-fix.ai, there's international shipping. These are the actual manufacturers of these. And as you can see, they're not cheap. I'm not going to pretend like they're cheap. With the code I do have, you do get 10% off. So, you know, you'd get almost $50 off this one. You'd get almost, you know, what, $110 off this one, almost. But this is the station that we're going to be talking about today. And, you know, I want to go over just one or two little quick things on it, and then we're going to get to what some of our results were. So here's my code right here if y'all need it. But one thing I want to go over real quick is with this device, one of the first things, and look, people thought because I was gifted a WB200 that I wouldn't be real with y'all. Or that'd be, apparently, if y'all think that I'm not going to be real with y'all or negative or anything like that, you have not belonged to this channel long enough. The positives I'm going to tell you right now is this. I still can't get over it. Every time I grab this, if y'all saw my previous video about this, or any video when I talk about this, is I can't get over how rugged this thing feels. This thing has some good weight to it. It is not plastic or anything like that. And I mean, you can hear it. It does not sound plastic, and it's very, very rugged. This thing has been tested at some very high temperatures and temperature controlled environments. So you don't have to worry about putting this outside. Everybody wants to have this competition of how hot it gets around their house and stuff like that. Look, it gets 100 degrees here in South Louisiana with 100% humidity, 114, 115 heat index, and that kind of stuff like that. And it gets hot, rainy, hot, hurricanes, or anything like that. I have no fear of putting this device outside. Now, how I'm going to mount this, that's a whole different story, because this has some weight to it. In the past, I would tell people to use fence top railing, metal 10-foot top railing from like Home Depot, Lowe's, or something like that, for a 5.5 dBi antenna. That was fine. You didn't have to guy that or anything like that. It was stiff enough that it would hold that. This ain't holding that. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That pole is not gonna hold this unless you guy it. Another thing is this has a TNC connector on the top. I have an issue with that. And I'll be honest with y'all, just to give y'all a heads up, that's probably my only issue I can find with this. Whoever thought about putting a TNC connector on the top of this needs to be square kicked in the testicles, because that is the only fault that I can find right now with this device. Because to use an antenna that I'm going to recommend, now you're going to have to put some type of adapter on it, that you have to find a TNC adapter to go from TNC to end on top. This is the one that I got from Amazon. So it has a TNC Male on top to TNC Male on the bottom, or whatever way you want to put it, so that basically it looks like this. Now, the problem is with this is you have to find them on here that is flush to this bottom. So what I'm being told in the Discord is there are some out there that cannot fit flush. This is the 5.5 dBi antenna that we recommend to everybody. It's normally gray, the one on Amazon. I painted this white for those who haven't seen the videos on that, because I had this at a host location till he couldn't. When I went to set it up, it wasn't ideal, but his posts were white and he wanted us to match white. And the problem is when you put this on here, this has got some sway to it. And as you can see in the video, it causes an issue. But there's a little spring that's in here. So this causes, I don't know if you can see that or not while I'm trying to hold the bottom still, but there is some sway in that. But I will tell you, this has been the best setup. And I'm not going to give you all the results of this test. You're going to have to come sit through 30 minutes of me testing all this stuff out so you can see what the before and after. But I'm also going to tell you all this also and give you this hint. Do not rush to replace this 3 dBi antenna. Depending on what your location is, depending on if you have mountains, say 150 miles away, or some kind of obstacles, a city or something like that, where you're not getting full horizon all the way out, and you only, or you have mountains around you, this antenna is ideal, the 3.3 dBi. But I'm going to go through all that at the end as a summary. So let's get started on some of my testing. The first test I'm going to do is me taking this outside with the basic stock antenna and comparing it to a station that I have at home for a that has a 5.5 on it. Now, that antenna I have at home does have 50 feet of LMR 400. No, I won't lie to you, maybe about 40, 45 feet of LMR 400 on it. And, some people want to argue about loss and what's not loss and what's okay loss. I'm telling y'all right now, the more and more I test these, especially when I tested this one, I'm learning feed line loss is more detrimental than we give it credit for. I understand what the numbers are and what people see numbers are. And that even goes back to things like this, or even like the SDRs, and people say, this is what's on the paper. This is what's in there. I do real world testing. The numbers can say one thing on paper, but the real world is a whole different story. And during the process, if you followed this process, this had an issue that they discovered during its testing. I give it to HiFix for discovering it and being honest about it. They had some unwanted RF noise they found in there. So they replaced this with an upgraded, better LNA, which is a low noise amplifier. To that's what picks up these signals and boosts it so that we can, read those signals. And I found that has made a big difference. And I wanted to compare that, is comparing it to a straight black SDR, like this, or black SDR. These are some good SDRs. People don't give these enough credit. We use a lot of these in the ham projects because they're so wideband, and they do a very good job interpreting a lot of these messages. So, I used these at first. I bought a whole bunch of them. Then I discovered the green SDRs, then the blue SDRs and stuff like that. But the problem with this one is that it does not have a filter on it, and it does not have a LNA on it. So I do have in one of my spots a standalone LNA, no elect, and a cavity filter. But I also, somebody mentioned these are the ones from AliExpress. They're only like $8 or $9. They do take power. But when you pair this up with this, and I do a whole video on this, I did about a month ago, I'll put this one up against any of those greens and blues. So, but I wanted to compare this versus that one, versus a green one, versus blue ones, and see what kind of results I get. So we're going to go kind of through all that, and I'm going to kind of narrate some through it. And let's get started on this. And so we don't take a whole hour up, and let's see what we get. All right, here is a simple side-by-side comparison. This is one of my first tests I ran. And this right here shows you on the left, this right here is the WB200 at about a 3-foot level in my backyard, you can see that it jumps around a little bit, but I actually have, for the first time I have ever seen, I have a balloon, whether this is probably a weather balloon or something. I have never seen a weather balloon on any of my stations before. This is, I've never seen a white airplane before. This one's getting different. This one's getting 87 to 88 messages at 425 messages a second. Here is my station on a DIY with a 5.5 at 40 feet up. And you can see right here that I am getting 74 aircraft. So I'm getting less aircraft. So I'm also going to tell you that I had to actually I tried to make these comparable gains. The gain, gain is actually a little bit less than this gain. So again, this is about 40 feet up in the air. It does have one or two little branches in the front of, which would be kind of the west side, which would be kind of right here. If you see where this jagged line's a little bit less. Towards the east is a tree line to a point, but even this one has even less. So just trying to compare these one. Now, again, this is the stock WB200 straight out the box. Stock antenna. And actually it's on an auto gain right now. Auto gain kind of fluctuates, but the auto gain still, this is at a 49.6. It's getting me right around a 5% strong messages, where this is getting me a 5% strong messages on an auto at like a 43 gain. So this is what it is compared to. Now, just to be fair, what I will show you is this. This right here is on a tower right up the street. Not right up the street, but a little bit further up the road. And this is currently on a tower at about a 200-foot level. If y'all saw that tower, my friend has another tower. It's about 15 miles, maybe about 10 miles from his big tower. And it's kind of on the side. So that's why you see this kind of broken up, because this is going through the tower to cover this side. But either way, again, this is 200 feet high with a blue SDR. Yes, the aircraft are different, but again, this is 3 feet off the ground with a 3 dBi antenna. Look at the messages. Yes, it's a little bit more messages, but you would think that this would be a lot more, or this wouldn't be as much when this is on ground level. This still kind of impresses me. So what I'm going to do next I'm going to take this antenna and I'm putting a 5.5 dBi, swapping it out. Just want to show you real quick, still in the same setup, but I am now got two, I'm assuming weather balloons. This has to be weather balloons, 65,000 feet. This might be that 3.3 dBi, 3 dBi antenna that we're talking about. You know, this one is not showing. This is a 5.5. It's not showing it at all. I'm curious to know if my 400-foot tower is picking this up. All right, boys and girls, so y'all see it right here. We now have the WB200 with a 5.5 here with 101 messages. I will still say I'm impressed with that 3 dBi antenna. But we are getting 537 messages. When I edit it out, I'm going to have to go back and look and see exactly what the numbers are right before I changed it. But this is a 5.5 dBi. I just showed you the video, 3 feet off the ground, 4 feet off the ground, maybe 5 feet off the ground. I showed you the tower, 40 feet off the ground. Now you're right. This might have some loss with the LMR 400, but you're looking at 300 message difference. Now, what I'm planning on doing next is, I'm taking this WB200. I'm now going to connect it on this tower with this feed line. And I want to see, are we going to get 92 and 300? Or are we going to get 100 and 500 or better than that? Another plan I have is I want to also change out the SDR on this to one of the better SDRs with an LNA just to give it a fair chance. What I will tell you is this is what the tower still is doing. That's right up the road, about 200 feet in the air, just so we can kind of compare where we at with messages and these aircraft. So I'm now going to go outside, take down my WB200, and I'm going to plug it in right here. All right, so I just came from outside. This is just a recap, just to show y'all, in case y'all got ADD like I do. This is what we were getting before. WB200 on the ground with a 5.5, 102, 500, 520 messages. This was the device that was up in the air. Hey, could be some loss, right? Not so fast, my friend. This is the WB200 right now live with this same setup. Are you impressed yet? Because I'm impressed. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a big fan of WINGBITS. On the ground, we were getting 102 and 520. You're getting an additional 100 messages, additional 20 on this tower setup. But this same tower setup right here, same antenna and feed line that this one's using, was getting 91 and 300. Let's compare it to our other tower right up the road, just so we kind of know. So you're getting more aircraft. Again, this one is 200 feet in the air, but your messages are within 70 messages. So you know where I'm going tomorrow. And it's not often that I say I'm looking forward to going to work, but I'm planning on stopping by at some point and going to this tower. And I'm planning on putting this WB200 on this 200-foot tower to kind of give y'all an idea. And I'm going to take a measurement before, take a measurement after. But I'm going to tell you right now, this WB200 is impressive. And I told somebody earlier, not that I have a lot of money to be thrown around, but if I put this on my tower, my friend's 400-foot tower, my setup on my friend's 400-foot tower that has a Air Spy Mini on it and a separator, cavity filter and LNA and that stuff I had to pay for. If this is impressive enough, I might say before you go spend all that, you might as well buy a WB200. But I ain't gonna go there yet. I'm gonna do some more testing. So next I'm gonna do is I want to take this back down, put this back over here. And my plan is to go back and I want to put the black SDR with the separate LNA on, and I want to see what kind of results I get on that. All right, so here we back are at square one. We have our WB200 at the 4-foot level, 3-foot, 4-foot, like I showed you on the pictures. 95 total aircraft with almost 500 messages. I have now swapped out my LNA. This is no longer the green LNA. This is the black LNA. I'm sorry, the black SDR with the separate LNA purple one that we get off with the SAW filter built in the one that we get off of AliExpress. And we're getting 93 and 183 messages, which I think it's kind of close to what we were getting before. I can't remember. I have ADD, but let's take a look. We have it actually right here. So before we're getting 91 with 300 messages, let me go check, since we're using a different SDR to be fair, let me go check and see what my strong messages are on this. Okay, so to be fair, this is running at a 49 49 gain, and our messages are a little hot. So maybe give a benefit of the doubt. We're getting too much override, whatever you want to call it, collisions and stuff like that. So we're going to go over here and we're going to set our gain to a little more modesty level. Actually, we can go put it on auto, since the other one, that's what the other one's running in, is auto. And let's see what happens now. All right, so kind of wrapping up this for the night. I made sure I updated my station on the right, and they're both running auto. So we have the same gain running, both running a 5.5 dBi antenna. On the left, is your WB200. On the right is a black SDR, which I don't have an extra one right here. I wanted to show y'all. But with the AliExpress purple LNA, which I told y'all I've been getting better results with one of these, with a black one, with a black SDR versus like say a green or blue one. But you can, the results speak for themselves. Like, and again, this is both live right now. You're getting more 3 feet off the ground than you are at the top. And again, we saw it wasn't feet long. So that wraps up kind of this test. I am so eager right now to go tomorrow morning or tomorrow during the day or tomorrow after work and hook this WB200 to the tower that is here and the tower that is my buddy's 400-foot tower. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna eat a lot of crow, but I'm not, I mean, I say I eat a lot of crow, but y'all know I'm straight and honest with y'all. I don't know if I'm really gonna eat crow because it, you know, nobody knew what this WB200 was gonna be. But you know, again, I'm speaking a lot. I have a lot of tests that still run for this video, but you know, if you have a DIY device, before you, if you think about even contemplating going buy a cavity filter and a air spy mini and going through all that, depending on what we see in the test tomorrow, get more messages, should be more wings. It might be viable to put a little bit more money up and get a WB200. It's easy for me to say, I'm not putting my money up, but I'm gonna tell you right now, look, I got a lot of stuff going on right now in life, but I can see me down the road, depending on what the price of wings are and stuff, or how my income starts, you know, possibly changing, going up over the next couple of months. I can see me swapping out. This is just preliminary. This is just day one of me doing testing. That's how excited I am. I'm talking about all this right now, but I can see me preliminarily going and swapping out some some DIY devices for a WB200, especially my more prime sites. But again, we're going to do some more tests tomorrow. I got to start now switching off of this and go and do my Monday video, which is going to be a quick video because it's already 9 o'clock. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. So, all right, we're going to do some more tests tomorrow and stay tuned. All right, so there we had another tower location. This tower, this is about 175 foot to 200 foot where this 5.5 dBi is. Their current WINGBITS station, this is its range, you know, getting about 230, 240 miles. Right now I'm doing 178 aircraft along with 777 messages. And now I'm gonna switch it over to the WINGBITS WB200. All right, so I've let this run for a little while. I've changed some gain on it. And y'all know I'm honest with y'all. I can say I'm slightly disappointed in some of this. I was getting 179 here. This is with a lip potato with the green SDR, which I still argue was one of the better beginner style SDRs. You know, not an Air Spy Mini, but you know, one of the between the greens and the blues type of thing, with 776 messages. With the WB200, I'm getting 157 aircraft. My messages are fluctuating anywhere between 600, which is still under this messages, and 150. Now I am getting better distance on this. I was getting 260, 270 miles at one point while I was playing around with this. But, you know, this is still, and what's happening right now is I set auto gain, because it seems like no matter what I put my gain at, it was way too much, and it was hurting my aircraft. So I'm sure if I sat here and played with it a little bit longer, I have to go right now, but I'm sure I could peak this out to at least get what aircraft I'm getting here. But again, with auto gain, this is fluctuating a lot. And I think it's because at this height and distance, I don't think you can really run auto gain on this. So now I turned auto gain off. And while my aircraft are a little more steady, they're going back up. I still find my messages are kind of jumping around a little bit, but I'm back in the 600s as far as messages. It bounces back down. But I don't know if it's just the way that this intakes messages as far as deciphering messages or not, but it's yeah, it just needs some work. But you can see my aircraft is going back up. So as you can see, like I was just at 173 before I turned it off. It's 171. My messages are lower than this, but now going up, getting up to like 600. So maybe if I quit playing with it, it'll go all the way up. You know, we'll wait and see what this does. You know, I'm really expecting, of all my other tests so far, this WB200 outperformed the regular stations with an SDR. So I'm waiting to see what really happens with this. I don't know. It's real world stuff right here. So we had 670, 668. You know, we're jumping around. So we're nearly at the same thing we were at before. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to turn back this one on, and I want to see what I get right now at this time with this one. All right, I would say welcome back to another video. That's how I start everything, but this should be in the middle of another video if I'm not mistaken. So we are continuing our test for like a week now on our WB200, different antennas, different types of setups and stuff like that. And we're out here at the Grumpy Testing Grounds, Lake Pontchartrain. Why do I pick this one? Because I have a buddy with a fishing camp out here, which is back in this direction, back there where them buildings are. And there is an antenna currently set up there with a bit harvest device actually. But he has a WINGBITS station there with a 5.5 antenna on it with a blue SDR, if I'm not mistaken. I can't keep up, you know. It might have had a green and blew up it like the other SDR, green SDRs. It might have a blue one on it now. But the reason I like this site is because New Orleans is that way, what they call the North Shore, Hammond and Covington, Louisiana and stuff like that is this direction. But this direction right here is Florida. You can literally go out the lake this way, through a little marsh pass here or there, and end up, Florida is the next landmass you see. So we get some pretty good range that way. So I wanted to come here. Now, of course, in this direction is trees, so I'm not expecting too much at this low of angle. I'm gonna be about, I guess it's about 7 foot high. I'm putting this on top of this truck right here, on the top part. But we're gonna test several different antennas. All right, so what are we testing today? First of all, we're gonna start, of course, with the stock 3 dBi. I still got my little WINGBITS sticker on it. The stock 3 dBi with the TNC connector on it. We're gonna start off with that one. Next, I'm gonna move up to this is supposed to be gray. Pretend it's gray. This is the gray 5.5 dBi antenna from Amazon that I recommend everybody. If you saw one of my other videos, I painted it white. This was supposed to go at a host house who had white columns, and he wanted white to match it, but he didn't tell me about all the trees and stuff blocking and surrounding his house, so it didn't work out. So this is still white, just with a basic paint. You can kind of see the gray through there. That paint is recommended by some other antenna people so that it does not block RF. I have what I still call the King of Kings. The King of Kings is the 8.5 dBi layered antenna that I used for all my Helium setups that outperformed all of the other antennas I have ever tested, from 12 dBi. I even tested a 15 dBi at one point, all the way down to a 5.5 and a 3. And this outperformed all of them. This is on all of my 17, 18, 19 still Helium stations I got. I also have a 5.5 Helium antenna that, you know, I want a 5 dBi, whatever it is. I want to be able to compare apples for apples, 5 dBi. So I want to be able to put a 915 on here. And of course, the cheap $4 Amazon antenna that's supposed to be 1090 that people say works, and I will argue all day that it's not even. I think the solder right here is what attracts the airplanes, because I think this piece of board right here doesn't do absolutely anything for it. As long as I got an adapter with me in my tool bag, that I should be able to use. So let's get started on this. We're gonna put this one on first and kind of do a base one. And while that's loading up, I also am gonna go check my buddy's one over there. I want to see what kind of range he's getting with that one. But again, that one is 15, maybe even 20 feet off the ground. So it might get a little better, but I just want to use that as kind of like a control or comparison of what I should be getting with some of these. All right, so we are like a goofball. I got my 3-foot ladder up here. We are about 10 feet off the ground right now. So this is going to be the 3.3 dBi antenna, or 3 dBi, whatever it is that comes with it. I'm gonna get up there and straighten it. Y'all calm down. But I'm gonna get up there and straighten it. But we're gonna go ahead and let this run for about 5 minutes and see what kind of what we're looking at is kind of an average of how many planes messages we get. All right, so first thing I'm looking at is my buddy's station down the road right here. He's getting right now 120 aircraft with about 1,200 messages. Now, one thing I need to tell y'all about Bit Harvest, I don't know what they're doing, but they're really opening up their software where somehow this accepts more messages. My Bit Harvest stations with poorer setups get more messages here than my good station with an AirSpy Mini. However, this is why I always tell y'all, more messages does not equal more wings. When I put identical stations, or when I ran this station for a while, then another station for a while, this is back when I was first doing some testing with them, this might get 300 more messages, but I'm getting the same amount of wings. So not all messages WINGBITS is using. But I'm getting right now 119 aircraft with 1,200 messages. When I come over here to what this 3 dBi antenna is, I'm getting 137 aircraft with 900, almost 1,000 messages. Again, this right here is the stock antenna, 139 aircraft. When over there, I have a 5.5 dBi antenna 20 feet up, and this one is on top of this ladder, ladies and gentlemen. So here you go. You can see that. And we're getting some ranges right now that are a little bit further out. Let me see what my distance is. Right now, my furthest distance is 239 feet. So I'm gonna go swap this now with a 5.5 dBi antenna, the 5.5 that I recommend to everybody. So I don't know if you've ever heard the story of if Grumpy didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck. So as I put on the 5.5 dBi antenna and was getting some very good results, better than the 3 dBi, I had to move the station, and as I grabbed it here, the adapter broke. So of course that was the only adapter I brought with me at the time. So I had to come home. 30-minute drive there, 30-minute drive back for y'all. My first concern is trying to find an adapter that can handle this type of stress here. Because what some people are saying is that the adapter that they have been buying does not fit flush against the bottom, and it's not making good contact. This one did. The problem with this one is, because I bought them in a pair, has some play in it. So I don't know what we're gonna do. But either way, now we're back at my house. I've set it back up. I'm taking another baseline reading with just a 3.3 dBi antenna, or 3 dBi antenna, on top of with my ladder. And this is what I'm currently getting at the house. 103 aircraft with 430. Now this is later in the day. It's almost 6 o'clock on a Saturday, so there will be less flights. You know, what kind of distance I'm getting is 193 feet. 193 miles with this setup. But either way, y'all, we can use this as a baseline to see which one of these antennas performs better and how these others perform. You know, either way. So let's go ahead and get to it before it gets dark and something else happens. So this right here is the 3.3 dBi, 103, 104 with 400 messages. Just as a baseline, I guess not even a baseline anymore, but just a curiosity, my buddy's camp that was over there at the lake, he's getting 120 with 1,300 messages. Again, ignore the messages, they're exaggerated, but the total aircraft is 121. So even with this 3.3 dBi here, you can see that, you know, I'm getting 20 or 30 less aircraft, which is not bad when you figure I have a huge tree right here. I have my neighbor's shed and houses and stuff blocking it, trees right here. So this is actually, I don't think is that bad, but let's go ahead and keep on going. I'm gonna go ahead and put this, slap this 5.5 on now this time and try this again. All right, so now we have our 5.5 dBi antenna. That's the one I'm always recommended for the DIY stations and stuff. And you can see that we have about 10 more aircraft than normal. We have about 200 more messages, if I remember right. And our range has gone out a little bit more. We're at 222 miles now. And so we have improved range. One thing I want to compare this to is that this is my sister's. If y'all remember, I have behind here, I have a 40-foot tower with a 5.5 antenna on it, 5.5 dBi antenna. And even though it's a visual, whatever you gonna call it, that dBi antenna that's all the way on the top up there, that is actually above this tree line, or there may be one or two branches. And that station right here is doing the same thing that the 3.3 dBi is, with less messages. So this station does interpret some better messaging. Just to compare it to my other one, my buddy's one where we were at earlier, he has 122. So I'm at 113 here, only 10 feet off the ground. So I think that's pretty impressive. So again, about 10 more aircraft with the 5.5, about 200 more messages with the 5.5 than we were getting with the, and we got a huge gap that's missing right here. I'm assuming to the south is gonna be, let me see, to the south's gonna be probably where this big tree is, I would think. Because that's actually east. So that tree's blocking east, and I'm guessing that's gonna be here. All right, so I'm gonna swap this out with another antenna. I'm gonna show y'all, if y'all can see how this little wobble that's in the middle, if I can somehow hold this. There is a wobble if you look at the top part of, and that is in this spring that's right here, and I think that's where the weak point is gonna be, why mine snapped earlier. All right, next up is a Helium 5 dBi antenna. I wanted to compare this because a lot of people ask if Helium antennas can be used with this project. So as you can see, yes, a Helium antenna, even though it's 100 megahertz off, you can use it. I am getting 74 aircraft, 73 aircraft with 300 messages. So messages really are close to what they were before. But as you can see, my aircraft are severely handicapped. I think I'm down about 35 aircraft. You know, again, comparing this to the station that's in this backyard right now, I'm at 98 right now, and 200 messages with that station. And comparing it to the one by the lake, it is at about 122 with 1327. So, so we can see that the Helium does work. It's just severely handicapped. You know, and in DIY devices, I could understand you didn't want to go spend another $50 for an antenna and that kind of stuff like that. But on these devices, your 3 dBi stock antenna is way better than with Helium's. So now we're gonna try the king of king antennas and then save the best one for last. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you is I can't let this go. If I let this go, this thing's snapping, this piece in the middle. This is the layered, I think it was the 9016 maybe, 9016 or whatever, 8 dBi. But you can see, just as I hold this, look how the bottom is not moving and the top is moving. If I let this go, this thing's snapping. So for those who have these antennas, I would not recommend it. So what I do is I'm gonna have to hold this up on top of the roof of this truck while I try to somehow also check what the laptop is. So as I hold this big old monstrosity up like this, you can see that I'm at 92 messages, 453 messages, 93 aircraft, I'm sorry, 453. Range is about 207 miles. So you are getting some decent, again, not as good as what that 3 dBi stock 1090 antenna is, but that's what you're seeing with this layered antenna. So I actually believe one of my stations that a friend owns, and he needed antenna, he is still using this antenna because I had a bunch of these left over. I had 30 Helium stations at one time, all with these antennas. So I think he's still using this one. So you can kind of see, you are getting 90 aircraft, 207 miles. So these do work, but they're not optimized for what you need them for. So let's go try Amazon's best of the best. Here it is, Amazon's best of the best. People who swear by this antenna and how great the results they got. All right, so we're actually getting better with the Amazon antenna. than we did with the 2 Helium antennas. So that shows you the weakness with the Helium antennas. We're getting 470, 480, 470, 460 messages, 93 aircraft, about 212 miles. So we are getting some aircraft with that Helium. That Amazon, I call it the Amazon antenna. They have a couple different brands. All with the same type of makeup on it, but it's just a PCB board. I still see the solder is what's actually catching it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish by putting back the original antenna, the 3.3 3 dBi, so we kind of have an idea. You know, this has been going on for about 30, 45 minutes now. Aircraft get less. So I want to see, this is what I'm getting at the house right now. 98 aircraft, 200 messages. You know, that one's probably needs its gain probably just a little bit, but we got 92, 93 aircraft, 400 messages with this antenna right now. All right, so we back to 101 aircraft, 536 messages at about 216 miles. So we've increased our mileage back again, and this is back to the stock. We're just running stock 3 dBi antenna from the WINGBITS people, or high fix. 104 aircraft back to, you know, again 525, and this is still outperforming the one that's on the tower easily. So that tells you that this LNA that they put in here, and probably filters and stuff, is way better than I think what some of the stock SDRs are, or just basic SDRs, DIY devices. Again, we had 103, 104, 400 messages, 460 messages. So that shows you the improvement over the Helium or even that little place boat type antenna. So are you impressed yet? Because I'm going to tell you, through all that, for those of y'all want to skip ahead and just find out what the results are, cheat on the test and find out what the results are at the end, I can't explain to y'all or describe to y'all or emphasize enough how impressed I am with this device. Look, nothing's going to be perfect. You will never find a perfect thing that I am 100% satisfied with. I can tell you that right now. I joke all the time. If I won the lottery, I'd still complain because I'd have to split the rewards with taxes, and they didn't deserve none of it. So, you know, other than this one thing right here, and y'all if y'all watched the videos, I showed y'all how I broke one of these already. That shows you that these adapters cannot handle that much weight. So what's another option? Another option is you can get cables. I've seen some online Amazon. I'll see if I can find one, and at some point I'll see about linking the cable onto in my description. But they do have some cables that you can get made, or some websites that can make cables for you. If you want to do like an LMR 400 with a TNC Male right there, and then with an N if you're going to use the 5.5 antenna. And therefore, you don't have to worry about breaking this. And that might be what my suggestion would be for y'all in the future. I can tell you right now, wherever I set this up at, because I still don't even know where I'm setting this up yet. I'm trying to find a completely new location for it, but I'm probably going to take one of my 14 stations down and replace it, and then move that one somewhere. If somebody wants to host it for me, I have a station right now that needs a host. But likely, pretty 99% chance, I'm gonna put this in an ideal location so I can get the maximum rewards for it, because this will outperform my DIY device, and I have no doubt that it will. Other than my one DIY device that has the AirSpy Mini on it, that AirSpy Mini with a cavity filter on it, with that no elect LNA, is still going to be the top performer. I didn't expect it to do this. I didn't expect to have a AirSpy Mini equivalent SDR type in here, but I still have faith that any blue SDR out there, this is beating that. I have no doubt in my mind that, especially with this 5.5. Now, I'm going to say this again. If you live in an area that has mountains around you and different things like that, where you're not going to get 300, 400 miles, you don't need to replace this antenna. this antenna is going to work fine for you. I was getting 230 miles with no issues with this antenna and picking up all the stations or all the antennas or the aircraft around here at all. I would never pair this with anything higher than a 5.5 dBi antenna. Just wouldn't do it. I've did enough videos on that 12 dBi, the 12 dBi that I think FlightAware somebody sends, that this is not Helium. Higher dBis will have poorer results. It's been tested in the past. I've tested it in the past. I have a buddy right now that still has a 12 dBi antenna set up at his house, and his results are much more poor than mine, and he lives in a more open area. And he uses the green SDR with a Pi. So, you know, another thing we used to have to worry about with the DIYs is the Pi 4s and above do a better job at receiving those messages and counting those messages where the Lipitators didn't. And so if I took a station that had actually I tested it with my AirSpy Mini, with that cavity filter and that LNA with the Lipitator first, and saw how many messages I was getting. And then when I swapped it to a Pi 4, I was getting 200 more messages. So that's something y'all might, you know, if any of y'all have DIY devices. But again, the way I feel about this, I'm gonna tell you something else, is also with this LNA, whatever filter they have in here, I find that it does a very good job filtering noise. I've watched my noise go down on some of my devices compared to what this was at that same location. You know, if you skip some of the parts, not only in some places that I'll just swap out the 3 dBi, I put the 5 dBi on there, I put Helium antennas on there and different things like that. But I also brought this to 2 different towers where I have antennas further up and put this on there to compare that. I'm telling y'all, this thing is very solid. I'm very, very, very impressed with this. And anybody now who can't get a hold of a DIY device, yes, I'm not stupid. This costs a little bit more. But I still think by the time, you know, if you wanted a top-notch DIY device, you were paying for $50 for a Pi plus $100 for a AirSpy Mini, you know, $75 for a cavity filter, $35, $40 for LNA, plus feed line, plus antenna and stuff like that. By the time you do that, that's going to be the same price as this. Very close to it. You know, now you want to swap the antenna out, that's on you. If you want to add feed line, it's on you. My point is the DIYs are not an option. And this right here fills the DIYs up perfectly with no issues. Not only that, 9 times out of 10, unless you're using the AirSpy Mini, this is going to outperform your DIY device. And that's just how I feel about it. I'm not just saying it, it's true. Again, I'm going to say this again because I see people on Discord. This is why I keep saying this over and over. I see people in Discord, they haven't even got these things in yet. I got one on my way, but I want to order 5.5. What do y'all suggest? Why? You haven't tried this one yet. Like, I would try this first. I see people going out of their way to make sure that they put this inside, and then they have to run feed line and run this out, which now you're creating loss. Another issue I'm going to tell you I ran into was GPS. My geosonic for some of my stations is the geosonic, the GPS radio for our DIY devices. Some of those are inside. But I'm going to tell you, this had an issue trying to find satellites inside. I don't know if it's because you have this more durable cover, where this geosonic is more of an antenna. This is the geosonic for the DIY, and the antenna with my Robin points on the back. You know, and you keep this up like this, but almost all of mine are in some type of case already or inside the building. I think only one I really had to go run outside. This thing will not start working in, you know, during the testing. I even spoke to the admins from WINGBITS about it. This thing won't even start operating until it gets a GPS lock. And when I had this inside, it would not get a GPS lock. When it was also right next to this, that was getting 7 or 8 satellites. So those people who want to throw this inside somewhere, you might have an issue getting a GPS lock. Now, what I wish they could do, if Grumpy had his own way, is you have these 2 ports back here, auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2. I wish that they would somehow make this where you could put an auxiliary GPS antenna on it. And I think that would really solve that GPS issue. It's another TNC connector on the back, but if you could somehow, or WINGBITS, I don't know if it's even possible, but if they could make that AUX1 a external GPS antenna setup, therefore you could possibly keep this inside if you're paranoid about putting this outside. But I'm gonna tell you, I have hurricanes down here. My WINGBITS stations, and the project we don't talk about anymore, that was a scam. That, and then also Helium. My stations lasted through 100-mile-an-hour sustained. We had 80 to 100-mile-an-hour sustained winds for Hurricane Ida. We had 75-mile-an-hour winds last year for Hurricane Francine. And I'm telling you, mine survived them. It survived them. So that was, my DIY devices and my outdoor stations. But my point is, I have no problem, no second thoughts about not putting this outside. Now, one thing some people complain about also is this is a kind of an all-in-one power and also Ethernet. Yeah, people asking about trying to extend that. It comes with like a 30-foot cable, I think, or something like that already. You might need to think about that. I don't know of any PoE type of solutions for that people keep asking about. I don't think anybody. I'm concerned about the voltage with PoE, not having enough or having too much or being the wrong voltage and frying this device. I can tell you now, that's one thing I'm not testing for y'all, because I'm not going to fry my device trying to put some PoE stuff on it to try to get it working with PoE. It's funny how everybody on Discord is talking about, yeah, you can do PoE, PoE this, PoE that. And then when I ask them about it, like, well, did you actually try it? No. Well, go. If you're that confident, go, and you telling everybody else to do it, go try it with your $1,000 device. So I don't know about PoE. They're going to say it should work, but until I know that somebody has tried it and can tell me the voltage on the splitter and the amperage on the splitter, I want to see what that is. And I want to know that it's working correctly. So I know this video went long, but hey, y'all wanted it. Y'all wanted a comparison video, and that was the comparison video. I tried the Helium antennas just to show y'all that it will work, but this outperformed even the best Helium antennas. And again, if y'all are getting this device, I would not go rush to swap that out. But if you're going to swap it out, this is still the best antenna so far. I've tested it, showed you all the testing. When I put this antenna on here, it was an improvement. Was it a fast, oh my God, improvement? No, but it brought in 10, 15 more messages. Aircraft and more messages. I am getting right now, this is on top of, this exact antenna is the one that's on top of my friend's 400-foot tower, and I'm getting 86 hexes sometimes with it. 86. There was a contest. Everybody was bragging about how many hexes they were getting. So I said, let me go count my hexes. 90. I just recounted again. This is from, I guess, last night's rewards. 90 hexes that I'm getting. No idea what this mileage is. You got Memphis up here. You're almost at right off the coast of, I think that's Tampa right there. So that's about 420 miles to Dallas. Even with Jonesboro up here is about 400 miles. And then Tampa, right off the coast of Tampa, is about 500 miles. Y'all can't see that. So that shows you what I'm getting right now with that antenna, which is the 5.5 dBi. So anybody wants to say, y'all can say what y'all want to say. It shows that the antenna is capable. That's my pairing, though. What I would do right now with the WB200. Height is might. These planes are 50,000 feet in the air, 40-something thousand feet in the air. I had one last week or it was last week, but early in this video, you saw I even had weather balloons at 50,000 feet, which I thought was amazing. People talk about the 3 dBi. Yes, you're going to get more planes directly over you, but how often is a plane directly over you? And that plane directly over you, eventually at some point it's going to be on this hex or this direction, that direction that the 5.5 is going to pick up. I don't have a problem with the 5.5 picking up overhead, but You have experts that come in here that have been doing ADSB and stuff like that for ages, who want to come in here and act like we're all noobs and we don't know what we're talking about. But that is what it is. So I hope y'all got something out of this video. This WB200, you know, I wish I had the NGW310 to test. I don't have $1,000 to buy one to test it, but I have full faith that whatever guts are in this WB200, wherever I put it at, you know, I just have full faith that whatever in this thing is also in the MGW310. Other than that, one will do GeoNets also, which is an excellent project that I can't take enough time on, any more time up for y'all. But that's gonna be, the GeoNet is a great project. I have not financial advice, but I think WINGBITS is gonna be a great project. They already have paying customers. We know that, you know, they've been involved in some things already. We've seen it. They're doing a lot of fundraising, so we know this is it. So have faith in this project and in this product if y'all have to buy this. And it's a very durable, good device. I don't know more how much more high I can talk about it, but we'll be, you know, whenever I figure out where I'm gonna set this up at, you know, all my hexes around here are covered. So I got to figure out what I'm gonna do, but it'll go somewhere. So don't forget, on Mondays, I have videos on all our projects we're in right now about the announcements and what we're making daily with those projects. Also on Thursdays, I do a live. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Time, we do a live. We don't have a set agenda of stuff we go over. We just kind of start throwing some subjects around, whatever the hot topic is, and the chat decides, and chat keeps on discussing. Sometimes it lasts 2 and 3 hours. Chat just keeps on going, asking questions. And sometimes just discuss things amongst themselves. It ends up being a pretty cool thing. So that's it for me. I thank you all for watching. Again, please make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Join the Discord, please. Join the Twitter X thing also. I do a lot of updates on that. And also my personal website for my side businesses on the bottom too. Appreciate it. All the support y'all have given me. Almost 30,000 subscribers now, and I really thank it. Thank y'all. See y'all later.